Next is financial applications, and we will have a portfolio selection model, and then a truck loading problem where we will have financial implications in the loading selection, the choices that we make. So first, portfolio selection. Here we have a company that invests in four different investment choices. Okay, so we have short-term trade credits, corporate bonds, gold stocks, and construction loans. So these are the four opportunities that are available, and we have returns. Okay, that returns are given here. Okay, for each of the four possible opportunities, and these are the interest return and the maximum investment possible. Okay, is these. Okay, that's given here at the bottom. So to encourage diversified portfolio, the board of directors has placed limits on the amount that can be committed to any one type of investment. So that's what that investment limit is in the next page. And then ICT, that is this International City Trust, has $5 million available for immediate investment, right? And wishes to do two things: maximize return on investment made over the next 6 months. Okay, that's one. Two, satisfy the diversification requirement as set by the board of directors. Okay, and the diversification constraint comes from this. Okay, so in addition, the board specifies that at least 55% of the funds must be invested in gold, stocks, and construction. So gold and construction put together must form at least 55%. Okay, we looked at a percentage based requirement earlier, and remember, you know we cannot compute the percentage itself, because computing the percentage will result in non-linearity. So we have to take the percentage and figure out what that percentage translates into quantity, or in this case it will be dollars. So 55% translates into how many dollars, and then we have to make sure that we meet that dollar requirement. And the second proportionality requirement is no less than, and that no less than 15%, so okay, that is at least 15%, must be invested in trade credits. So that must be at least 15%. Okay. All right. So let's enter all of this input information into our Excel model. So we have these four investment opportunities, and the return on investment are given. Okay, so these are the percentages. So let's change that to a percentage. Okay, and the diversification requirement, that is investment limit on each of these uh, opportunities, is given here. So these are, we can set it up in millions or dollars. So I'm going to set this up in dollar amounts. So that'll be, and I'll get rid of the decimal places. Okay. And the total investment limit is $5 million. Okay. And let's change that to a currency as well. All right. So now these are input values. So let's color code them like that, and I'll put a border on top like that. Then we have the percentage requirement for minimum investment: 15% trade and 55% gold plus construction. Okay, and let's make that percentage, and that should be input as well, background blue. Okay. Now we have to figure out how many dollars we're going to invest in each of these four different investment types, and that is our decision to make, such that the objective cell, the return is maximized and the constraints are met. So that is our changing cell, and the investment limit is just dollar amount limit, so that comes from there. Okay, so these are less than or equal to constraint. Okay, let's center that so it'll be nice and clean, and let's put the bottom border back and looks clean and neat. All right, so now we have to set up the minimum requirements constraint. Okay, so that's going to be based on how many dollars we invest in total. So we have to sum these amounts. Okay, and all of these must be dollar amount, so let's go ahead and change it to currency, and I'll get rid of the decimal places. Okay, now total invested in trade credit. Okay, so if you want that to be 15%, so we have to take the total invested and multiply by 15%. That changes the requirement into a dollar amount, and that has to be minimum of that. And similarly here you take the total amount and multiply by that, and that's the amount minimum for that. So that should be centered. Okay, now what is actual? Actual, the first one, actual, is just that trade credit must be greater than or equal to that amount. And the next one is gold and construction. So gold stocks plus construction, and that must be greater than or equal to that amount. The total return is some product of the dollar amount we invest, okay, and the percentage of return. Okay, let's make that into currency. So now we have the model set up. So next is to solve it. Solver. Now, well, before that, let's color code this. Set target cell, and then data solver. That should be maximized, and that's our changing cell. And the constraints are those must be less than or equal to those. That's one. Okay, add that. Then we have the total investment. That should be total invested should be less than or equal to the total investment limit. We can do this like that, but since we have limits here, let's go ahead and put the limit. We'll bring the limit over here in just a second. So for now, let's enter the constraint. I forgot to put that there previously. All right, so let's add that, and then of course these two should be greater than or equal to these two. Okay, click OK. All right, so that and that. All right, so now let's close this. Let's go ahead and set this up. All right, so now we go back into solver. So everything is set up correctly. And click solve. So we have the answer.